Hi, this is Raphael Grossford. I can't get the grin off my face because we are with the legend, a hero that we've all seen, the great Joe Theismann, that I have approached since the inception of this project, and he was nice enough to actually answer me back when we were nothing, and out of nowhere he invites me to Vegas to have dinner and explain to him. So that was wild for me. Yeah, we run into Joe Torre. When you hang out with Joe Theismann, no problem there. So fast forward a couple of years, and suddenly everybody knows what's happening with No Limit Coin and No Limit Fantasy Sports. So the first call I made was back to Joe. I said, Joe, I think we're ready to talk more with you. We'd love to bring you on for for the both reasons. You obviously the history you have with the NFL and the Super Bowls and your team and et cetera, et cetera, and of course your business involvement and your acumen through all of the project that you've done. And I just feel that you're an incredible person as a spokesman for, or at least to consider it. So tell us. I mean, I've talked to you about crypto. You know what's going on. I think everybody, once people find out that you're into crypto, you're gonna be bombarded. So tell us what you think. I'm talking. It should be you.
Well, looks like you just gave me five. It's interesting. When you and I first started talking about cryptocurrencies, when you and I started first talking about cryptocurrencies, it became very interesting to me that we tend to focus just on the United States when it comes to currencies, but there are a lot of different world currencies going on, and Bitcoin is sort of the beginning of a lot of different currencies that are happening around the world. The interesting thing for me is we used to look at what basically was the internet. Everybody said, well, what's the internet going to be? Could it possibly happen someday? Could it go forward? Well, look where we are today. Where would we be without the internet? You and I wouldn't be able to do exactly what we're doing. It was a dream of some people a long time ago. Obviously, cryptocurrency is a dream of some people going forward, and you happen to be one of those dreamers. And I find it very intriguing that it could potentially be, at some point in time, an additional currency in society. Now, could it be 3 years? Could it be 5 years? Could it be 10 years? I don't know. But if you look at the development of different types of technologies, you have to say to yourself, why not? Now, as far as No Limit Football goes, shoot, I'm into fantasy football. I'm into football. I love it. As we speak today, I'm going to be doing the Redskin Tampa Bay preseason game coming up this week, finishing up getting ready for this particular season. And it's going to be an exciting year, as it always is. Everybody always says to me right now, hey, thank goodness football season is finally here again. Not that they don't like baseball, not that they don't like basketball, not that they don't like hockey or soccer, but by golly, they love football. And it's exciting to talk about it.
Yeah, it is, and it has. For me, obviously, it has a lot more meaning this time around. And just having you there, and the truth of the matter is, I've got my draft with my buddies, in a little bit, and then now I've been invited to another league, and of course the league. So, Joe, give me your top picks. I mean, yeah, no, please,
Well,
because
there's some ones that I think are obviously, I think Kirk Cousins is going to be a guy to consider because the Redskins have got some pretty good receivers around him. Of course, Matthew Stafford's bank account got an awful lot bigger, so you know that he's going to want to play well. Derek Carr, another guy who got a bank account boost.
yes,
I think the Raiders will be better. They just missed the playoffs because Derek Carr got hurt a year ago. So you have to think that, of those three quarterbacks, there's three quarterbacks there. Larry Fitzgerald with the Arizona Cardinals. Larry had 107 catches a year ago. Dez Bryant, interestingly enough, down in Dallas, only had 50 catches. Now, what's going to happen with Ezekiel Elliott? We're not sure exactly whether he's going to be around or not. But of the 50 catches, he had 8 touchdowns. So when you start to look at receivers, even though Larry had twice as many catches, he only had 3 or 4 more touchdowns. So, where are the points going to come from in a fantasy game? That's something to consider as a wide receiver. Ajayi down in Miami, the running back. He had a heck of a year. And I think, what will happen with Jay Cutler as the quarterback down there? Miami is a pretty good football team, and they've got some decent receivers. And so when you start to look around this league, there are guys that are sort of saying, okay, these are the guys that I'm looking at. But now if you're looking for a defense, okay, if we're looking for a defense, I like the Minnesota Vikings.
Really?
I think the Minnesota Vikings, and not only that, if you're looking for sort of a sleeper quarterback, Sam Bradford could be another one of those guys. Sam set a record last year for pass completion percentages over 70%. I don't see him getting any worse. This was his first year in the system. So, they're sort of over the Adrian Peterson hangover of what was going on with AP. And now all of a sudden, they've got a football team that made the playoffs. They get excited about what's going on. And to me, one of the sleeper teams in football will be the Minnesota Vikings. And I think defensively, they were ranked third last year. I think they have a chance to be right there. And obviously, I don't know if you get a chance to get Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers. Certainly, you're going to do that. Drew Brees. I look at Drew this year and I think, with Adrian down there in New Orleans, is he going to put up the same kind of numbers? Is Sean Payton, their coach, going to change his philosophy a little bit now simply because he has a running back? Or are they going to be the guys that throw it all over the park like they normally have? Curious team to look at.
Wow. Man, I mean, I was going to start writing all this, but hey, I've got you on video. So I'm not going to show this to my friends until I get my draft out of the way. And then I could say, oh, by the way, check out the, Joe's picks. Because, no, I mean, I had Cousins like last year and it was amazing. And then people are telling me, oh, he doesn't have receivers. But you're telling me he does. Fitzgerald, everybody always thinks he's over the hill and he's just putting up points like crazy. So I see where you're coming from, and it's very interesting. What about Marshawn? I mean, is that gonna take the Raiders like all the way, maybe with Carr and Marshawn there?
You have to remember, neither of those guys were part of their team last year. They made it to the playoffs. Now, Denver's basically starting, with Tom Savage, got a new quarterback. So it's gonna be a different situation in Denver. Kansas City, they just lost Spencer Ware, their running back, for the year, as far as their star running back who had most of their carries last year. When I look at Kansas City, this is a team that baffles me a little bit because Alex Smith in 16 games last year threw 16 touchdown passes. Now, for people like Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, that's about a third of a season. And so he averaged one touchdown pass per game. But is this going to be the year that Kansas City finds some offense in the passing game and has a chance to step up in the world of fantasy? They're like one of the biggest question marks to me when it comes to fantasy football. I just
Smith in Kansas City, yeah.
But again, you're talking about a playoff team. A playoff team that only threw 16 touchdown passes. So what happens if they expand that a little bit? So, I mean, as you look around, and, kickers, Brian in Atlanta is just, the kid's been unbelievable when you look around the league and you look at the kickers because, 33% of the games roughly in the National Football League are decided by 3 points or less. So
really? 33%?
How important are your kickers? Yeah, about a third of them. I mean, the Redskins had 5 games last year that were decided by 5 points or less, not counting a tie. So, you think in 16 football games, basically 6 games are within 5 points. And in that division, what about here's one for you. What's Brandon Marshall going to look like with Odell Beckham on the other side? What's Mike Evans going to look like with Deshaun Jackson on the other side in Tampa?
Wow.
I think another quarterback to consider definitely would be Jameis Winston as well.
Right.
I mean, so if you've got, there's a number of choices out there. If you're in the league or you're playing No Limit Fantasy with us, you've got some choices. And by the way, I've decided to do this with everything that's going on with Hurricane Harvey down in Houston. And I'm going to participate in fantasy football with you. Any money that I would win, I'm going to donate to either J.J. Watt's fund, which is youcare.com, or the American Red Cross, or possibly split it between the two. And with the American Red Cross, you can designate what disaster you want to try and direct your money to. So I encourage anybody that's playing, I know we have like 6,000 participants plus and growing, really stop and think about how lucky we are to be where we are and how we're really put on this earth to be able to help other people. And this is a great opportunity to do it. Not only to help other people, but to be able to do something we love doing, talking about a business that is so exciting in football, and be able to give something back.
That's very touching, and that's the first thing that Joe told me. I mean, before we even talked about anything, he says, "You know what? Before we talk anything, are you with me with getting some help out to the problems, the whole tragedy in Houston?" And I said, "Absolutely." So we're gonna put up a contest called Joe Theismann's charity event, and whatever comes in, we're gonna match it, and we're going to donate it to the charities that you mentioned. And we're going to have a link on our website, and we're going to call it charities. And the first ones are going to be Joe Theismann's charities. We'll put addresses there so people can send in whatever they want to do and follow your lead on such an important thing, and use your the star power that you've got to make a difference. And it's very very touching that you actually would have brought that as the absolute number one concern that you had. It didn't matter anything else. So I'm there with you. We want to do it, and I can't be more excited about you coming out to LA. I know you're doing the Redskins and the Rams game, so we're going to do
that's another thing too. Raphael, I wanted to mention to people, I'll be at the. We're going to have a little. I guess you could call it RV, or we're going to have something as a tailgate at the Washington Redskin Los Angeles Ram football game, which will be the 17th of September. And I plan on being there saying hi to all the Redskin fans that are out in LA, and all the Ram fans that are finally going to get a chance to see football again in LA. So,
yep.
As well as the Chargers. So it's an exciting time for the city of Los Angeles. It'll be a big game because our former offensive coordinator, Sean McVay, is now the head coach of the Los Angeles Rams. So It's a little bit of a homecoming for him to see his former teammate, watch his former pupil work in Kirk Cousins. So I'm excited to see everybody, meet everybody, say hello, and talk football.
And, we'll be there with the No Limit Fantasy Sports, No Limit Coin Tailgate. And, you want to hang out with Joe. He's going to be with us like an hour or maybe a little more. So we're really excited about that. And I just can't wait for that. So everything's coming together. The fact that you're talking to us, and you're starting to get involved, and we're going to explore a lot more involvement down the line is very exciting to me. We've got our team. There's hundreds, actually 1,000 people now in something called the Slack group. And one of these days, we'll talk about the projects. If we could have Ask Joe Theismann Fantasy Sports Show, I'm telling you, that thing could be the top fantasy sports show in America. There is nobody doing. I know, I'm putting you on the spot. You don't have to answer.
Thanks, Raphael. Well, let's put it this way. We can talk about a lot of different things. But
yeah.
Right now, it's like I said, the cryptocurrency is. It's exciting to think about what the world might look like. Don't just think from a U.S. standpoint, but let's think globally in this regard. And then the other part of it is, obviously, with football season coming, fantasy football has done so much for football. It's brought fans to the game who wouldn't really think about it. And the neat thing about No Limit Fantasy Football is, you can plug in a whole bunch of names on a computer, and they can spit it out, and you can play in all these leagues. But I think if you pick out one or two, you get a chance then to really get involved, not just as a fantasy football fan, but as a true fan watching your people go out and do what you hope they can do.
That's right, Joe, and I'm not going to keep you anymore. I know you're headed to Europe, and then you're all over the place in very high demand. And when people find out that you are suddenly in the middle of the crypto world and essentially an expert at it, you're going to be bombarded even more. So
I am not an expert by any stretch, but like I said, you and I have had a couple discussions over the last couple of days, and I'm very intrigued by it. Like I said, I imagine you go all the way back to the beginning of the cell phone, the beginning of the iPhone. Some of the things that have just occurred in the last 10, 15, 20 years they were dreams like we're talking about now. I mean, Bitcoin is real.
Yes.
No limit coin is real.
Yes.
These aren't pie in the sky dreams that somebody's just talking about.
Yes.
These are tangible things that exist. And
yes.
who knows where this world's going to go? I just had a great conversation with a friend of mine. What's the world going to look like 10 years from now? We were there talking. He's 57 and he was with his 20-year-old son. For those of you that are young out there, you don't know what the world's going to look like in the future, but you have a chance to shape it. We want to have an opportunity to be able to bring some stuff to you to think about.
That's perfect. I don't want to even add to that perfect final statement. Joe, thanks a lot. You're really adding a lot of specialness to our group. All the people in the Slack group are going to appreciate this, and hopefully we'll have an opportunity for them to send in some questions and all of that. So hopefully we can do this again. And again, thank you very much. Have a great trip to Europe, and I'll see you at the Rams.
Ram game.
Yes.
17th of September.
Yes.
Thanks, Raphael.
Thanks a lot, Joe. Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.